of restoring the tomb in Jerusalem where it is believed Jesus of Nazareth was buried.
Jesus has died and has resurrected.
Holy Tomb is the most alive place in the world.
After centuries of searching, scientists have found the tomb of the Virgin Mary in Jerusalem. This monumental discovery sheds new light on one of Christianity's most revered figures, sparking global excitement and contemplation. For decades, different Christian groups upheld their beliefs, but this discovery has made Christians question what is true. Join us to learn how the Virgin Mary died and what was found in her tomb. The tomb in the Kidron Valley. There is a holy tomb in the Kidron Valley near the Garden of Gethsemane and the Church of All Nations, with many Eastern Christians believing that it is the tomb of the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. And so the world kept waiting, encompassed in its homes for thousands of years, what would come out of a chamber sealed from the outside world. After being sealed for thousands of years, the world awaited what would be found inside. When it was finally opened, it was empty. Books claiming the Virgin Mary did not ascend to heaven have been proven wrong, while Christian beliefs that Mary went up to heaven with her body alive and intact seem to explain why no trace of her was left in the tomb. These beliefs call this the Assumption. However, there are differences in how each Christian belief thinks about Mary's life and death, especially between Catholicism and Eastern Christianity. Catholics believe Mary never died, while Eastern Christians think she died, was buried, and then came back to life on the third day, just like Jesus, before ascending to heaven. The Assumption of Mary is one of 4 important beliefs about Mary. This teaching concerned the doctrine of the Assumption and was officially proclaimed by Pope Pius XII on November 1st, 1950, in the document Munificentissimus Deus. This teaching is linked with another dogma, the Immaculate Conception, which states that Mary was born without sin. These 2 beliefs are rooted in the Christian belief that Mary is the mother of Jesus, the Son of God. The Assumption of Mary does not state for certain that Mary died, but officially teaches that she was assumed to be in heaven. Having the same view as Christianity, the Eastern Orthodox Church has a doctrine known as the Dormition of the Mother of God, which means to fall asleep. This belief is not among Orthodoxy's dogmas or the teachings of the Eastern Orthodox Church, but it is still an integral part of it. In the letter Munificentissimus Deus, the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Pius XII declared that he wished and believed that the belief of the Assumption of Mary into heaven would strengthen the belief of resurrection amongst people. He wants people to realize that just as Mary's body ascended to heaven, our bodies will be restored and raptured to heaven. Various accounts describe the location of Mary's Assumption. We will discuss them later in this video. But before that, did you know that around the 7th century, a new story circulated about Mary's Assumption? This story says that one of Jesus' apostles, often called Thomas, wasn't there when Mary died, but when he finally arrived, they opened her tomb again and found it empty except for the clothes she was wearing. This story was later told and retold, and some versions even say that Mary dropped her belt down from heaven to Thomas as proof that she was taken to heaven. This story is shown in many paintings of Mary's Assumption. The teaching about Mary's Assumption spread throughout the Christian world, and people started celebrating it as early as the 5th century. The Emperor Maurice made it an official holiday in the Eastern Roman Empire around 600. Some scholars think that the stories about Mary's Assumption and Dormition, or falling asleep, can be traced back to ancient Christian books that aren't even part of the Bible we use today. Some scholars who study the Bible think that a group of Jewish Christians in Jerusalem knew stories about the end of Mary's life, which were passed down through word of mouth. They believe these stories were shared during the time of the apostles or soon after and are based on real events. Looking at these oral traditions, they are trying to show that the stories about Mary's Assumption and Dormition are true. However, another scholar named Shoemaker points out that these stories are very different and don't come from one tradition. Instead, they come from many different sources and have gone as far as evolving. Even the scholars who believe in oral traditions agree that the belief in Mary's Assumption, as we know it today, is the result of a long development process rather than the original story itself. The story of Mary's Assumption first appeared in a book called the Liber Requiescentia Mariae, or Book of Mary's Repose, written in the 2nd or 3rd century. This book is only partially trustworthy, and its beliefs about Mary differ from most Christians. The old stories about Mary's Assumption must be clarified and all agree on what happened. Some stories support the belief that Mary was taken to heaven, while others don't. According to Stephen J. Shoemaker, no evidence exists that people believed in Mary's Assumption before the 5th century. The only exception is that Epiphanius of Salamis tried to discover how Mary's life ended in the 4th century but needed help finding reliable information. Now, here's where things get quite funny. It turns out the New Testament doesn't say anything about how Mary's life ended, and the early Christians didn't write any accounts of her death. Even though Epiphanius couldn't find any trustworthy tradition about how Mary's life ended, his writings show that people disagreed about what happened to her. He mentioned 3 different beliefs. Some people thought Mary died a peaceful death, others thought she died as a martyr, and others believed she didn't die at all. Epiphanius also wrote that Mary was like Elijah, who was taken to heaven without dying. Mary was assumed into heaven at the end of her earthly life. She was taken up body and soul into heaven. This idea was repeated in later writings that aren't entirely trustworthy, like De Orbitu Esseni and De Transitu Virginis, which were probably written in the 5th century. Other writers like Dionysius the Areopagite and Gregory of Tours shared similar stories. These writings helped spread the belief in Mary's Assumption, considered unofficial until the 6th century, but by the 8th century, the belief had become widely accepted, and John of Damascus wrote that Mary died in the presence of the apostles. But when they got to her tomb, they were in for a shock. Her tomb was found empty when they opened it, leading them to believe her body was taken up to heaven. If you thought the discovery of the tomb in the Kidron Valley was shocking, hold on tight because we're about to unveil Virgin Mary's house recently discovered in southwestern Turkey. Significance of the Virgin Mary in the Christian tradition. The Virgin Mary is paramount in the Christian tradition, deeply venerated since the Apostolic Age, and frequently depicted in Western art, music, and literature. Although biblical references to Mary are limited, they have provided a foundation for a rich and enduring devotion. The Christian doctrine concerning Mary has evolved over centuries, capturing her roles as the guarantor of the Incarnation, the Virgin Mother, the Second Eve, the Mother of God, the Ever Virgin, the Immaculate, and the One assumed into heaven. Christian denominations dedicate numerous feast days to her, with several being holy days of obligation in the Roman Catholic Church. Renowned pilgrimage sites such as Our Lady of Fatima, Our Lady of Lourdes, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Our Lady of Loreto, and Our Lady of Medjugorje are believed to be places where miracles have occurred, drawing millions of pilgrims annually. The New Testament emphasizes Mary's humility and obedience, making her a model for Christians through the ages. Despite the limited details in the New Testament, Christian piety and theology have constructed a comprehensive portrayal of Mary. This development aligns with her Magnificat, Luke 1:48 prediction that all generations would call her blessed. Mary is first mentioned in the story of the Annunciation, where she is described as living in Nazareth and betrothed to Joseph. Her last New Testament appearance is in the company of those praying after Jesus' ascension, Acts 1:14. The Gospels also recount her visit to Elizabeth, the birth and presentation of Jesus, the visit of the Magi, the flight to Egypt, the Passover visit to Jerusalem, the marriage at Cana, her attempts to see Jesus during his ministry, and her presence at the crucifixion where Jesus entrusted her to the disciple John. These references, while significant, do not form a complete biography of Mary. Her role is pivotal in the narratives of the Nativity and the Passion, serving as a prologue to the Christmas story and standing by the cross during the Passion. Christian reflection on Mary has centered on these biblical scenes, with interpretations varying among denominations and theologians. These differences often hinge on the point at which they believe the legitimate development of Marian doctrine concluded. A historical survey of Mary's doctrinal development also introduces contemporary Christian perspectives on her. The evolving doctrine highlights Mary's profound impact on Christian thought and practice throughout the centuries. Since the early days of Christianity, these themes have inspired deep thought and contemplation about Mary. Christian communions and theologians differ in their interpretations of Mary, primarily based on where they set the terminal point for the development and expansion of doctrine. As a result, a historical survey of Marian doctrine traces its development and reflects contemporary Christian thought about Mary. The discovery of Mary's house. Mariam Ana Evi, or Virgin Mary's house, is a revered site near Ephesus in southwestern Turkey, close to Seljuk and Izmir. This modest stone house is situated in a secluded area on Mount Koros, also known as Bulbul Dagi in Turkish, meaning Mount of the Nightingales. My visit there during the summer left a lasting impression. The climb up the hill was marked by the intense heat radiating off the dry soil and stones, which carried the rich fragrance of fig leaves and the camphor-like scent of olive branches. To me, the word that best captured the experience was tranquility, a quality Mary epitomizes, a serene absence of tension. The house's discovery in the 19th century is a tale of faith and revelation. Anne Catherine Emmerich, 1774 to 1824, a Catholic nun who never set foot in Turkey, had visions detailing Mary's last dwelling place. Her visions were transcribed by her secretary, Clemens Brentano, and published in the book The Dolorous Passion of Our Lord Jesus Christ in 1833. These detailed accounts eventually led Abbé Julien Gouillet, a French priest, to the location in 1881. According to tradition, Mary was brought to Ephesus by St. John, who had been entrusted with her care by Jesus during his crucifixion. Mary is believed to have spent her final years in this serene and peaceful setting. The authenticity of Mariam Anna Evi has been a topic of controversy. Brentano's writings, while inspirational, were later found to contain numerous embellishments, leading to skepticism. The Catholic Church has not officially recognized the site. However, it has been blessed by visits from Popes John Paul II and Benedict XVI, lending it a measure of ecclesiastical endorsement. Despite the debates, Mariam Anna Evi has become a pilgrimage site for Christians and Muslims. For Christians, Mary is venerated as the mother of Jesus Christ, while Muslims honor her as the mother of the Prophet Jesus. She is one of the few women mentioned by name in the Quran, with a chapter dedicated to her. The existing structure on the site is from somewhere other than Mary's time. However, a nearby baptismal pool has been dated to the Apostolic Age, suggesting the presence of an early Christian community that may have sought refuge here from Roman persecution. Recent carbon dating efforts indicate that parts of the original site might date back to when Mary and John lived. However, the ongoing quest for proof of authenticity has kept the site's spiritual significance strong. For me, over my 45 years of visits, many have found that accepting Mary's presence there fosters a deep sense of connection to her compassion and tranquility, the ancient sealer. In the meticulous scrutiny of the site traditionally believed to house the tomb of Jesus Christ, preliminary findings have emerged, shedding light on the enduring presence of elements dating back to the 4th century AD. Despite enduring centuries of tumult, including damage, destruction, and reconstruction surrounding the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem's Old City, segments of the tomb appear to have withstood the test of time. Located in the center of Christianity's holiest land stands the tomb, a humble yet meaningful structure with a limestone shelf or burial bed chiseled directly into a cave wall. Its importance is felt even today, attracting tourists worldwide to this holy land and the tomb of Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, the physical traces of this holy place have been camouflaged for over 400 years and covered with marble panels starting from at least 1555 and most likely earlier. This layer of marble has covered the burial bed to protect it from the touches of many pious Christians who would want souvenirs to take home from the pilgrimage. The excavation of this ancient tomb began on October 26th in the evening, and this event gradually opened the subsequent chapters of the mystery and religious sanctity of this tomb. First, the conservation team from the National Technical University of Athens conducted their investigation. All that caught their eyes was a deposit of fill material. If hope and commitment failed them when stripping off the marble facade, then they were in for a spectacular surprise. After 60 hours of rigorous work beneath the layers of time and the thick, dusty coverings, a clean stone plate with a magnificent cross imprint was found, providing the archaeologist with a feeling of closeness to the past. At the time already in the evening of October 28th, when the hours were counting down before the tomb would be sealed up again for another century, one could uncover the original limestone burial bed and compare itself to the centuries-old cloth that was laid over it as the symbol of people's faith. The scale of this discovery was impressive, and the entire archaeological sphere recognized its worth. People began to marvel at it. Frederick Hebert, National Geographic's renowned archaeologist in residence, making the general opinion consonant, remarked, "I'm amazed. My knees are shaking slightly because I wasn't expecting this." Suppose these theories do not suggest clear conclusions. In that case, their significance is immense as it provides glimpses of the continuities toward identifying the tomb's location, which has been an area of conjectures among scholars and historians for decades. Moreover, the investigation also unearthed other discoveries, which assured that the limestone cave structure was part of the modifications during the 19th century medical enshrining of the tomb. A carefully crafted window now offers a portal into the sacred past. exposing one of the ancient cave walls to the light of modern scrutiny. Professor Antonia Miraculous, the eminent figure spearheading the conservation and restoration efforts, articulated the significance of these findings with palpable reverence, remarking, "This is the holy rock that has been revered for centuries but only now can be seen." In her words lies a profound acknowledgement of the enduring power of faith and the tangible connections it forges with the annals of history, sacred sites of Jesus Christ. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is an important sacred place to the Christian civilization sited in Jerusalem's ancient quarter. This old church is said to have been built in the 4th century, and the building is said to house the Station of the Cross, also known as Calvary or Golgotha, and Jesus' tomb, where Christians believe that Jesus was buried and resurrected. In a major repair on October 26, 2016, the silver sliver put over the original limestone block, which tradition has it that Joseph of Arimathea buried Jesus, was also peeled off. This event revealed the actual slab to the public for the first time since its last treatment in 1555. Thus, people saw one of the most important remnants of Christianity. Another place of interest is the Garden Tomb, a rock-cut tomb in the 1867 original site. Some of the Protestant communities hold this site as the genuine burial place of Jesus. Israeli archaeologist Gabriel Barkay has attributed the tomb to the 7th to 6th centuries BCE, which adds value to its history. The Talpiot tomb was found in 1980 in the eastern Israeli neighborhood of East Talpiot, approximately 5 kilometers south of the old city of Jerusalem. This rock-cut tomb is made of 10 ossuaries, out of which 6 of them had inscriptions carved on it. Out of such inscriptions, one of them read as Yeshua bar Yosef, which in English is Jesus, son of Joseph, has raised a lot of controversy. Many researchers have it that this tomb probably belonged to another man named Jesus, and has features of affluence and family relationship rather than the itinerant preacher from Nazareth. Another such site is the Roza Bal Shrine in the Khan Yar quarter of downtown Srinagar in the valley of Kashmir. It is commonly assumed that Yusuf and another Muslim saint, Mir Sayyid Nasruddin, were buried in the shrine. The site gained wider attention in 1899 when Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, founder of the Ahmadiyya movement, claimed it to be the tomb of Jesus. This claim remains a point of contention, especially among local Sunni caretakers who regard the notion as contrary to Islamic beliefs. In Japan, Shingo village is home to what is claimed to be the last resting place of Jesus, referred to as the Tomb of Jesus, Kurisuto no Haka. According to the local Sawaguchi family, Jesus did not die on the cross at Golgotha. Instead, his brother Isukiri took his place while Jesus fled across Siberia to northern Japan's Mutsu province. In Japan, it is said that Jesus adopted the name Torai Tora Daiten, became a rice farmer, married a woman named Miyuko, and fathered 3 daughters. He purportedly lived there until the age of 106, after which his bones were collected and buried in a mound in Shingo, now marked as the grave of Jesus Christ. The history and significance of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. In adherence to Jewish customs, burial within the confines of a city was strictly prohibited. This tradition held sway even during the time of Jesus, as recounted in the Gospels, where it is mentioned that Jesus was laid to rest outside Jerusalem near Golgotha, commonly called the Place of Skulls. This specific detail regarding Jesus' burial location holds religiously and historically profound significance. However, the dynamics surrounding this burial site underwent a significant transformation shortly after Jesus' interment. The rapid expansion of Jerusalem's city walls effectively encompassed Golgotha and the adjacent tomb within its boundaries. This expansion inadvertently altered the landscape and context of Jesus' final resting place, bringing it within the city's jurisdiction. Centuries later, in approximately AD 325, the narrative of Jesus' tomb gained renewed attention, driven by the enthusiasm of Emperor Constantine's representatives. These emissaries embarked on a mission to locate the sacred site of Jesus' burial. Legend has it that their quest led them to a temple erected by the Roman Emperor Hadrian approximately 2 centuries prior. Hadrian's temple, standing as a testament to Roman imperial dominance, was strategically positioned over the tomb, aiming to subdue the burgeoning influence of Christianity. Historical accounts, notably chronicled by Eusebius, the bishop of Caesarea, shed light on the events that unfolded upon the discovery of Hadrian's temple. As the temple's foundations were dismantled, the hidden truth beneath the imposing structure was unveiled. a rock-cut tomb believed to be the very sepulchre where Jesus was laid to rest. The cave's upper portion was meticulously removed to expose its sacred interior, marking the genesis of a monumental transformation. As a mark of respect to the sanctified shrine, a magnificent church was built to house the tomb, incorporating the site into the church enclosure. This church was later called from Church of the Resurrection of Jesus and became a symbol of Christian faith and tourism. Time was not always friendly to this much-respected building though. It burned in 1009 along with its destruction within the context of religious war and violence when the Fatimid Caliph burned down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But having firmly stood on her feet, the church started to reconstruct itself, and it took some effort and time to do that in the mid-11th century. Thus, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre remains one of the main milestones in the chronicles of archaeological confrontation with the myths of the past. Within the bosom of its sanctity, the efforts of the researchers and the archaeologists in the 20th century produced appealing evidence. Excavations made at the site revealed segments attributed to Hadrian's temple and the church Constantine built as the first church in Christianity. However, the explorations of these locations' thousand-year-old limestone quarries, which were well complemented by rock-cut tombs, clearly indicate the amount of history that was domiciled in this region. Most significantly, these other tombs from the same period provide positive archaeological evidence that supports the historical facts that the area was used for Jewish burials outside Jerusalem and beyond its walls during Jesus Christ's time. Thus, scholars and historians have been confronted with the problem of the genuine location of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as the grave of Jesus Christ. Despite the possibility of doubts, it is impossible to question the overlying importance of the Holy Sepulchre as outlined by historical city archaeologist Dan Bahat and other scholars. If the history of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was surprising, brace yourself as we reveal the stolen body hypothesis, a theory grounded in early Christianity. Could this theory challenge what we know about Jesus' resurrection? Unveiling the stolen body hypothesis. The stolen body hypothesis, a theory that was grounded in early Christianity, holds the view that instead of rising from the dead, Christ's body was stolen from his tomb. This hypothesis asserts that the tomb was found to be empty, not as a result of the resurrection, but emptying of his body by his disciples or any other unknown people. This concept, documented in Matthew, has raised many controversies over the centuries regarding the historical truth concerning the discovery of the empty tomb. In Matthew's Gospel, the stolen body hypothesis is presented only to be refuted, attributing the theft claim to the high priest of Israel. The narrative suggests various motives for the disciples to steal the body, ranging from wanting to bury Jesus themselves to fabricating a resurrection to restore Jesus' reputation. Early Christian writings such as the Toledot Yeshu and debates between Christians and Jews in the 2nd century further elaborate on this theory, adding layers to the discussion. Critics of the stolen body hypothesis argue against the likelihood of the disciples perpetrating such a fraud, citing their subsequent martyrdom as evidence of their sincerity in preaching about Jesus' resurrection. However, others like E.P. Sanders proposes that inconsistencies in early accounts make deliberate fraud improbable, suggesting instead a genuine belief among the disciples. The hypothesis also considers the possibility of grave robbing in 1st century Judea, a known issue. While some argue against this theory, pointing out the impracticality of taking a body for necromantic purposes, others highlight historical evidence of such practices and the prevalence of grave robbery in the region. Another perspective suggests involvement from Jewish leaders, positing that they may have removed Jesus' body to prevent civil unrest or the veneration of his tomb. This theory aligns with certain gospel accounts describing encounters with individuals dressed in white, possibly priests from the temple, urging Jesus' followers to return to Galilee. Alternatively, some propose more mundane explanations, such as Jesus' family or unknown thieves moving the body for unrelated reasons. This version of the hypothesis suggests that the disciples, upon finding the empty tomb, genuinely believed in Jesus' resurrection, driving their subsequent fervent propagation of Christianity. Even more peculiar theories, like the involvement of a gardener in moving the body, have been suggested in ancient texts and debates. What are your thoughts on the ancient theory suggesting a gardener's involvement in moving Jesus' body? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A historic revival in Jerusalem. It was in 2017 when a very important event took place in Jerusalem. a Greek restoration team proved themselves in a very meticulous manner by painting the tomb of Jesus in readiness for Easter. The restoration work centered around this important aspect of the Church of the Holy Sealer, and in a way fell into a significant point in both religious and archaeological concern. For years now, the ridicule, which is believed to enshrine the tomb of the cave in which Jesus was buried and where he rose again, was neglected and decaying. The sight of an iron cage erected around it in 1947 by British authorities to stabilize its walls highlighted its structural instability. Additionally, layers of black soot from pilgrims' candles had obscured the shrine's stone facade. Concerns grew about the shrine's precarious state, prompting a restoration effort supported by various stakeholders. The World Monuments Fund initially contributed $1.4 million towards the $4 million project, with additional donations from private donors, including the widow of the founder of Atlantic Records and Jordan's King Abdullah II and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Given the shrine's pivotal role in religious pilgrimage and its historical significance, these funds were critical for urgently needed restoration work. The restoration process was done under the direction of a team from the National Technical University of Athens, and it covered all the details. It started, however, with dismantling the iron cage and cleaning decades of soot on the shrine's exterior. With the shrine exposed, the emphasis shifted to strengthening the interior's masonry to counter splaying. Before moving them back, the stone slabs were scrubbed of wax and pigeon dung and placed back into their original positions to reclaim the glory of the shrine. This led to unraveling many historical facts concerning the shrine when the restoration was underway, thus giving more information about the shrine's building. In October 2017, when the team was exploring the shrine's internal area, other histories were hidden behind the walls. He pointed to a white rose marble slab, another layer below the outer layer of marble, then showed them a cross etched on the slab, imitating the Crusaders era. However, during further digging into the ground, another grey marble plate dating back to the 4th century was found to have been commissioned by Roman Emperor Constantine, who commissioned the construction of the Church of the Holy Sealer. The restoration also enabled people, such as the pilgrims and scholars, to get a view of the ancient burial cave. There must have been great teamwork among the various Christian denominations managing the Church of the Holy Sealer. Although there were once ethnic differences between the leaders depicted, they put aside their differences to protect this holy ground. The final stage of the break was celebrated by a ceremony witnessed by both Orthodox and Catholics, depicting the religious landmark's unity. The discovery of the tomb of the Virgin Mary in Jerusalem is a very important event in religious history. It shows us beliefs and traditions that have lasted for centuries. This find helps us understand Christianity better and shows how important Mary, the mother of Jesus, is worldwide. As they make plans to protect and study the tomb more, it becomes a symbol of faith and a sign of how people work hard to protect our common history.